Next step is to put together the build plate, the bed. So we have the bed, the build plate hardware, 7 fiber washers, and our PCB heated board. First thing we're going to do is clean off the bed in preparation for the tape. You can do that with Windex. That's what my preference is, but any alcohol-based thing will work. Just need to clean it just to remove any oil, grease, or buildup. This allows the blue tape to stick really, really well to the bed. And you might even want to do the other side that's going to be against the PCB, just to clean off any debris. Now, attaching the PCB bed, there's a notch on this side. This is where this connector is going to go. The connector is actually facing up, does not go down into that notch. And you want to line up these 3 holes, these 3, and the center. And then open up your build plate hardware. Inside you'll find 4 springs, 4 22mm M3 bolts, 4 nuts that we typically do not have to use, a center washer that's going to get replaced with a fiber washer, and then mounting bolts for the PCB, of which we will only use 7 of those. So you place a fiber washer underneath the head. This also keeps the tip of this from coming through the bed and poking up into the build area. You just want to loosely get the bolt started. Does not have to be really tight yet. You want to get the other one started first before you tighten everything down. And then it seems to work best if you line up opposite holes first, just to get everything started and lined up. And do the same thing for the remaining 4. The other thing you want to check is to make sure that the bed mounting bolts on the ends will actually go through before you tighten everything up. Initially, the only bolt that will be really tight is the center one. The end bolts just need to be snugged up. Sometimes you'll have to move the bed around just slightly to make sure that all the holes line up. That's why we don't tighten it down initially. You just want to make sure that these bolts will pass through without interference, which they do. And just check all 4. Not a problem. Now, in tightening them down, just use a hand tightened until it is snug and you can't really turn it anymore, but you don't have to crank it or strip the threads. These ones just turn down until they are kind of snug, but they can still be a little bit able to move. This is to allow for thermal compensation in the bed as it expands, since the bed will expand at a different rate than the PCB. And we don't want to trigger the bed warping. So that is done, and there's no bolt heads poking up through the top of the build area. That's ready to be attached to the bed carriage. So to start off, you grab your 4 springs, and you can place one on each corner, just kind of centered over the hole where the bolt's going to go through. And take your bed put your 4 bolts through the ends. And then line up on each end the bolts. So it goes through the springs, resting on the springs. Line up the other side same way, so that you kind of have this centered. You can then pinch the bed, allowing you to hand start threading in the bolts on the mounts, so that they're just started to be attached. So that's attached. Then you can use power drill to just thread the bolt through, so it's about maybe 1/8 of an inch through the bottom, just as a starting guess. Same thing on the other side. This does not have to be exact, just approximate, about 1/8 of an inch through the bottom. And the springs will be almost fully compressed, but not quite. Those will get relaxed. Okay, bed is now attached, and we're ready to connect up all the cables.